atmosphere and what the atmosphere has been like. I gotta get this down here. I can't do this. That's ridiculous. Okay, I'm not gonna go too fast because I want you to get this. Okay. Spiritual forces set the atmosphere. Whether you realize it or not, there are things and there are rulers that rule over us. There's a second realm, a second heaven, and rulers rule over that place. It's why the Bible calls the devil the prince of the power of the air, and he rules over that area. This is the earth, and he rules over that area. He set his kingdom up there. Above that is the third heaven, and that's where God exists. If you look it up, I don't have time to say all that today. Look it in the Word. The third heavens is where heaven is. It's where he exists. And Satan wanted to have his own throne, and so he went under there, but he tries to block what's going on down here in between us for us to see what heaven is. So you've got to have the power of God in you before you can break through that realm, because spiritual atmospheres, they will I would say, dictate how you think and how you feel. Because they try to rule over your mind. Your mind. It's your soul. It's where your mind, your will, and your emotions are. They try to rule over that area. Okay? So they affect you. That's why you have to take every thought captive. That's why the Word talks about all the time, be sober, be alert. You have to be able to understand that. But you won't. Sometimes you won't unless a prophet shows up and breaks that spiritual force, because a prophet is called to live and listen to what God has to say, and they will have direct words from heaven that will, and he has to have the fear of man off of him to do it.
Yes.
Because the fear of man will affect you. And the Lord gave me a word a couple months ago to bring to the youth, and I saw this evil ogre, and he had, like in a cage, he had people caught in the fear of man, and they were not able to get out and never walk in freedom. Since then, I'm not saying this for me, I'm saying this because the Lord calls me in those things. It was for a purpose.
Yes.
Those kids have walked in freedom to come out of the fear of man. Fear of man is that dictatorship that comes with the religious system that has ruled over this region for years and years and years.
Yes.
I really believe when I was getting ready this morning, the Lord said, even the very church that we stand in was a well of salvation. I remember as a kid, revivals going on here. I remember salvations happening here. There was major things that happened in this building, and the Lord said, the very purpose that I put you here is to open up that well again. I never taught that till this morning. He said, I want you to open up that well again, and this day is very prophetic, because 25 years ago, we had a crusade on that football field there. And that's where you got saved, Uncle Mike, isn't it? Yes. Right here, right here, in this building, because it rained. That's what it rained. It rained that day. And we had to come into here to finish the revival, and he got saved. You and J.D. Palin did that day. I remember that.
J.D.
My granny, that just passed away last summer, she got saved. She walked all the way down from I will never forget it. That's where she got saved. She was the first one. So it's prophetic. It happened here. And then all of a sudden there was things that God, it wanted to move on. There was a stirring that I'd never seen before. That was in 1985. Never seen before. It was that summer because we had that crusade. I felt that same power on the football field. It was like we were standing there Friday night when we were done, and I could see it. I saw that same power. God is about to break them. Now, He's not about, this is the day.
Yes.
He is breaking open the wells of salvation. He is breaking it open. It will never be the same after today. This is the day. I'm not blowing smoke. I'm not telling you. I'm telling you, this is the truth. This is the day. We are walking in the day. I'm going to show you that what the Lord told me. I got to say it. Well, I wasn't going to say it, but I have to say it. I was going to wait till prayer, but I'm going to tell you all, because you all have been pulling on me. I can feel you all week. You've been pulling on me, and you have been praying, and you're hungry. So I'm going to tell you this. This is what he said to me exactly. He said, Sunday is the launching pad for a new day, a new season, and a new time. A new wave of salvation, deliverance, and freedom is beginning. The atmosphere is changing. In fact, from the breaking that came forth Tuesday evening, because we had a prayer meeting in here Tuesday evening that we've never had. It was wild. He said, from that, a shift has begun. The weight on the scales was higher on the dark side until Tuesday. We have been contending for the last 2 years at the equal center. I saw a weight scale. At the equal center, the balance of a scale. Darkness and light being the same strength. And this is why we haven't seen any measurable increase until now. Because now is the time. We have just tipped the scales to the light now. I saw that from Wednesday.
Yes.
Opened up
yes.
for Tuesday at the apostolic move where the fathers will sit in their place. When you come into the kingdom, you have to come as a child. And there are fathers in that kingdom. This is a heavenly father, and then he places fathers over you to discipline you and correct you because we've been born in a sinful flesh, and you have to be corrected and disciplined to be able to receive your inheritance, your rightful inheritance. But some of you haven't even begun to tap into your inheritance. This is because you have to be disciplined first. And you have to be corrected, and that's what it's for. It's not fun at the time. It's not joyful. Hebrews 12 says it's not joyful for the time, but it yields the peaceable fruit of righteousness. And when he can trust you to be mature to handle it, then he can pour it out.
Yes.
It's not about being good and works. It's what him coming in and being your father and training you, and him coming in and planting the spiritual DNA of Jesus inside of your spirit, man, your heart, and you come alive because you're dead. And then you come alive, and then you begin to change, and you change. Your whole circumstances will change. I'm not saying they're going to change instantly, but they will if the true DNA of Jesus is inside of you. It can't help it.
I like that DNA.
Okay, so this is the...
You can't help it. If you have the DNA of him, you become like him.
You become like him. Yes, you do. So this is the last part. He said, we have just tipped the scales to the light now. From here on, we will continue to increase at a more accelerated rate. This will manifest in power, in love, peace, well-being, favor, healing, and wellness. It will increase in money, in influence, a winning spirit, and an attitude. A winning attitude. That's what he said. This is the glory of God. And the Lord said, the glory of God is not to be lusted after, to use selfishly. But it's to be craved because it's where God dwells. God dwells in his glory. And don't you fall. Okay, so let's go. Let me read this. I'm going to back up in a minute. And let's go to Matthew 17. This is about the atmosphere. I'm going to show you something about the atmosphere and what it is and why you felt like you haven't been able to break through. This is where he has tried to rule over us to affect our mind, our thoughts, and our emotions. And unless we recognize truth, we'll just accept what we're thinking and hearing. So sometimes what you've thought and heard all your life is not the truth. So you have to know from his word, and his word coming alive to you by the power of the Holy Spirit. So Matthew 17, verse 14. And when they came to the multitude, a man came up to him, falling on his knees before him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is a lunatic and is very ill. For he often falls into the fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not cure him. And Jesus answered and said, now listen to this part. O unbelieving and perverted generation, how long shall I be with you? Bring him here to me. And Jesus rebuked him, and the demon came out of him, and the boy was cured at once. Then the disciples came to Jesus privately and said, why could we not cast it out? And he said to them, because of the littleness of your faith. For truly I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and nothing shall be impossible to you. But this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. And some of you have been going over this in Bible study, and this has already been planting the seeds and ready to go. With a religious spirit, a religious system will carry a spirit of unbelief. Because they will begin to lay down laws and rules and say, because they didn't see the power come, because they didn't enter in themselves, they had no power. So then they begin to make laws and rules to line up, but there was nothing, there's no power behind it. And laws and rules that didn't even make sense. They don't even make sense because they didn't know themselves. And so they make up doctrines, you can say the word doctrines, belief systems that says, well, God doesn't do that anymore. Well, God doesn't heal like that. Well, if God wills it, then we will be. But that's not the truth. Because Jesus said, he went and healed everybody. He went about doing good and healed all that were sick. And then he said, greater things will you do in my name when I leave. So if he died on the cross, and Maddie, we were talking about this last night, is Isaiah 61. All the things, if you look it up, I'm not going to read it today. All the things that he died for, he died to set the captive free. He was bruised, and most of all of you watched the Passion. He was bruised for all of our iniquities. The chastisement of our peace was upon him. By his stripes we were healed. He was beaten, torn apart. The cross paid it all.
All of it.
And people say, well, Paul said,